Ladies and gentlemen, today is July 14th, 2012. And I always miss that. And this is the KNKL Show, episode 43. Yes. And I am your host, Keenan Lafferty. Today we are going to be doing a tutorial on drawing hair. Look at that. Look at that hair. Yeah. Yeah, today we are going to be drawing hair. That was a reference to Chad Warden, for those of you who haven't seen that. Yes, if you haven't, please go check it out, because that is awesome. And before we get into that, we are going to be taking a stroll down Lovely Lane. We got sexy mermaid chicks. We got waterbenders, Batmen, superheroes. I don't know who that guy is. He's very ugly. He should get out of here. Tarek, whoever that guy is very handsome and muscly, as well as Vladimir and sexy Sona. So once again, thank you guys for submitting your stuff to the Facebook. It's awesome as usual. Please continue to do so and tell your friends about it. Do I really even need to tell you that? I mean, probably do it anyway. Now, moving on to the Twitter. Follow me. Follow me. That is a direct order. That is a commandment. Follow the Twitter. And I will post links not only when I am watching new hipfire videos on YouTube, because I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty Black Ops lately, but I will also post when I'm recording and posting new shows. So be sure to look out for that. Moving on. See, are we actually recording into the right spot? Let's see. Yes! We are! So, moving on to the tutorial. Today, yes, we are going to be learning how to paint hair. And I have some great techniques to show you. I have so many wonderful things to show you. So without further ado, look at my mannequin faces. I drew these just for you guys in preparation. Because I was a Boy Scout, and I believe in being prepared. Well, I never made it past Tenderfoot. But that's okay, because there wasn't a lot of merit badges for art in Boy Scouts, so I was not interested. So anyway, that's another story for another time. Let us move on to how to draw hair. Let's start with the lovely gentleman's hair, or the handsome gentleman. It's not. This is the lovely. This is the handsome. So the first thing you're going to do is decide what you want to do for this guy's hair, right? And the most important thing to do, regardless of whatever you're drawing, is where or what the shape of the hair is going to be. So an example, you'll notice, by the way, I'm doing this on the layer above. Like I have the mannequin heads beneath, and then I'm doing this on a layer above. In fact, turn it back up. Man, early day Saturday. Man, what a good day it is. Feels good to be alive. So the first thing we're going to do is, let's determine the hairline. That is one important thing to do. So if you'll notice here, a good way to decide where you're going to put the hairline is you're going to have the circle that I have constructed this head with, right? You got this underlying circle, and then you come down this way and then up. I do not know why it is lagging so much. Okay, we're back. And you go up like that, right? And then the nose usually lies pretty on the same plane as the bottom of that circle, right? So there's your nose, right? And then the eyes usually end up, I usually put them in like the center point, usually, like between here and here. That's the eyes. It's a little bit up, but that's okay. So the eyes are right about there. And so generally the distance between the bottom of the nose and the eyes is how far you're going to go up to get to the hairline, right? So kind of take that distance, gauge it, and that is where your hairline is going to go. It's going to wrap around like that. Okay? Okay. So just so you know what I'm thinking. Moving back. Alright, so let's draw on this hairline here. We know that it's going to be right around there. And what kind of hair do we want to give this guy? Let's see. Let's give him some cool. Let's give him some cool Men's Health flipped up faux hawk hair there. And then another thing is you want to think about where all this hair is coming from. Where does it come from? Well, it all sprouts from the roots, right? So you want to make sure that you keep in mind where the crown is, which is usually kind of, I don't know, mine's kind of like back here. But some people have like really interesting ones, like they have double crowns like back here, and then, well, if you could see through this head, the other one would be over there. But that's really cool. So, yeah, but usually I just kind of put the crowns of the head up here. I still can't figure out why it's lagging so badly. I think I just need to get a new computer. I think that's what it comes down to. Alright, so you can see the shape of the hair coming to completion. Okay, it's very good. Let's sculpt that line in like that. Alright, now that you have the shape of your hair, what we're going to do is we're going to lay in the color. So let's say we want this guy to be a redhead. Why not? Just want to demonstrate some of the principles. Give him kind of like a auburn, brownish red. And you notice how I kind of desaturated that. I wasn't like red and went up here, right? I was like red and make it realistic red. So we go kind of down here. Not unless you're drawing anime will you go to that super red. So now I'll just start coloring in, or I'll just start dropping it in behind. And I'll go to my ink pen, which is basically just that same brush, except I have lowered the, or I took out the opacity jitter that is coming from the pressure of the pen. Coming from the pressure, pushing down on Wacom, pushing down on tablet, pushing down. Alright, moving on. Yeah, so you can see how we're kind of putting in this little mask here. And again, notice how little information is actually within, you know, because I'll show you how to convey that. I'll show you how to basically communicate that. And if the lines are appearing as, you know, they need to be darker, just go back to your lines and make them darker. Or you can set them to a multiply, whatever you wish. Again, these lines are very sketchy. So, yeah, this is basically more illustrating a point. And we're going to be eventually painting over these lines too, so I'm not worrying too badly about making them perfect. Okay, so we have the mask in there, right? Let's go back to our regular brush. And let us start rendering in some of this detail. How do we show the form of this, right? So what I'm going to have you do is when you desaturate, or I mean when you darken, you're going to desaturate as well. So you're going to go down to the left, right? We're going to start rendering in basically the shadows of this hair. And the way that I usually like to do it is think of where your highlight is going to be. And, well, maybe we should do the highlight first. This is a good way to start introducing some of the hair information. So when you go to your highlight, it's going to kind of pass through a saturated phase, and then it's going to go to a very desaturated highlight. So let's actually go to our more saturated color. Let's go right around there. That looks good. And then what I'm going to have you do is determine, this is, I mean, a big part of where the highlight appears on the hair is where the light source is coming from. So let's say that the light source is just coming from kind of the top right area, right? If I were to draw an arrow, where a 3D arrow, so you can see clearly what is happening here. The light is coming down this direction. The highlight is basically going to be reflected right through this area, right? And what you're going to do is think about where this hair is coming from, right? The flow of it. Draw another layer. Now we'll go to the super bright red just to show you. Okay, so we have the crown, right? And this hair is all going forward like this. It's growing here and it's going to be coming down kind of like like that. Okay, and it's also growing here and going upwards. So you can see all of these little hairs are, this is basically the direction that the hair is going. So we want to keep that in mind. You can already see that I messed up with these highlights because they're going this way when they should be going the other way. So this is basically how you communicate the form of your hair, is with the highlights and the shadows. It's not so much worrying about drawing all the lines and stuff. So again, remember, it's coming down this way. So our highlight is going to do more of this, right? And then also you might catch a little bit of a highlight in here because there's a plane change happening because it goes up, in, and then up again, right? So like kind of where this little crevasse is happening, probably catch a little bit of light there too. Yeah, it's good. And then I start alt-clicking to begin blending. Alt-click basically brings up the eyedropper tool and allows you to start, yeah, basically blending and kind of getting a basic idea for the structure. So now you can start reading this as, okay, I can see that this is a high point of the hair, it curves around, goes in, and then there's another change happening here communicated by this highlight. Now let's throw in some shadows. It's kind of, oh, you notice that I kind of hue changed it a little bit too on that highlight. It kind of went a little bit more to the orange. So for the shadows, I'm going to push it a little bit more purple. Let's see how that looks. I think it will look cool. The shadows, basically, I like to just treat it as, it's basically like, think of this as like a sphere inside. Remember how we drew it before? You can just kind of shade it, just kind of loosely around that. Shade it like you would a sphere. And then, of course, don't shade over the highlight because that's still going to be taking precedence, if you will, of the light. And you can kind of cut back into it like that. Shade up here to help communicate again that this is this angle. See, it's almost like the top of a circle there. You know, there's like that curve happening. And you can cut back into it like that. And you can push a few of these shadows up into it to show like the little gaps between the hair kind of going up, right? And the shadows are kind of staying in there. That's always fun to do. And then another thing that I love to do is you line the edge of your shadow, and I'm going to zoom in for this because this is really cool. You line the edge of that shadow with a highlight like that, right? And that really kind of pops that out and shows that there's a big like shape happening there. And it looks cool. So I always like to do that. Do that. Throw a little bit of that. There we go. And again, think again. I'm always thinking about the direction of this hair, right? So it's coming down like that, and you can kind of push these shadows again into there. You can push the shadows into the highlight. And you'll start to notice you're getting this cool little shape here. And then some people have like cowlicks where the hair will grow back like this, aka me. Am I painting on the, oh, I'm painting on the line layer. That's why I was like, oh wow, this is going over the lines really nicely. Yeah, so I'm actually just over painting this right now, which is eventually what I was going to do anyway. But if you choose to do this part behind the lines, you can do that too. Yeah, I think it's actually working out pretty well, especially for speed painting, just to get a good feel for it. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the really hot highlight. And again, we're going to hue shift and desaturate it quite a bit, right? So we're going really, really bright. And what you're going to do is think about just the hottest points of where this light is going to be hitting. So it's probably going to be right around there, like that. And then this is basically how you will, this is going to communicate the glossiness of the hair, right? And it's good to keep it thin. You don't want to like make it too big because then it starts to look a little cartoony. And you can kind of grab this and cut back into it. Blend it a little bit more. I think I had a freaking bug just crawling on me. That's nasty. That's nasty. He will not distract me. He will not distract me from my mission. Again, a little bit of that in there. Just a few highlights here and there. And again, whenever you want to communicate more form or more texture that's going on, just kind of grab some colors and throw them into the shadows like that. See, it just kind of creates your texture. Let's see. Yes, I am liking it. I like it. And then another cool thing that I like to do is just kind of go back in, and I'll just kind of like add in little like flyaways, you know, just like little extra hairs that would just come off, especially around the corners, you know, when you're painting on the edges. This is the overpainting layer. Like if I would have done this correctly and painted beneath the layers and then gone over top, I would have made another layer and then say, okay, this is going to be the little like flyaway layers. You know, and I'll kind of go around because you know the hair usually doesn't like sit perfectly in a shape like that. You know, it has little. Well, a hair wouldn't be going that way, but well, maybe it would if you had like really bad bedhead. But yeah, it has like little flyaways like that. Give it some good texture on the edges there. Some good texture around the edges is very nice. Yes, a bit of good texture. And there you go. You can kind of connect that into the scalp like that. Cool. And that is the guy's hair. Now let us move on to the lovely lady. Alright. So, again, doing this again. Let's start with the mannequin heads back here. Let's collapse all of these layers into one and hide it. Oh wait, keep it in the group. And we'll just start again here. So, like we did before, let us sketch our shape for our lady's hair. Just kind of make it a darker color. And let's see, what do we want? What do we want? We want to make sure that the hairline is as far down as the nose, so let's take that, nose to the eye, go up, bam, right there. And a good general idea for like how it kind of curves around here is, I don't know, I just kind of create a little crescent shape, you know, kind of comes down from the ear and it goes up there, right? And trying to make it like that, you know, it's like a vampire thing, but you know, just kind of soften it up. Yeah, just kind of play around with it. Different hairlines will actually make, you know, different face shapes and stuff. It's actually really cool. So don't be afraid to experiment and go outside the box and make it a little different. So kind of just draw this in. So let's draw something really fun. Let's experiment with a little bit more of like hair shapes because these can be a lot more prominent in girls' hair. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to draw in some major hair shapes that we'll be shading. So let's start with like something like this. Just draw a big hair shape that comes down like that. And again, remember, all this hair is coming from somewhere, right? So we want to make sure that you show where it is growing from and where it is going to. And again, it pops off the scalp a little bit, so make sure you give it a little bit of space to grow. Again, very, very messy, right? And what's cool is once you know where the hair is growing from, you can do all kinds of interesting things. Like, okay, say you have this shape happening here. Well, then you can almost, if you wanted to, you could take another strand from back here and throw it in front. like that, right? Look at how there's some sort of interesting layering going on there. And then kind of erase that line. And let's mirror it on the other side, just to show you what's happening actually. So this hair is coming up like this. I'm drawing this strand here. It's going up and then down like that, right? And then this other strand is coming up and over. Down like that, right? That is an interesting hairdo. Kind of like it. Maybe I should go into fashion design. Or beauty design. I don't know, is that what that would be? I don't know. Barber. I could be a barber. A sculptor of hair. Michelangelo of your scalp. That is what I would like to be. Yes. Okay. So again, don't mind being so sketchy. I don't mind it because I'm a little sloppy and I like to have fun. I paint like I have finger paints on my hands at all times. So it's just that's the way I like it. It's fun. So the hair also will come down like this. Let's draw a couple like little shapes that come off here. That's kind of fun. It's very fun. Let's have it go up and over the ear. And then back down and around. Good. Good. All right. So, let's make this girl a blondie. I'll show you some interesting things that happen when you're rendering blonde hair. Some very interesting things. Okay, so first thing you're going to want to do if you're rendering a lighter colored hair is take your lines and make sure that they are kind of ready for that. So I'd say make them like a little bit like a darker brown, like that. Lock the pixels with this little handy dandy icon here. Go ahead and paint over the whole thing. Bam! And go ahead and color behind it. I'm going to pick out my ink brush again. And let's paint in some blonde hair. Now, when you start painting blonde, a lot of people think of blonde as like yellow, right? But you don't want to go there quite yet. You want to start with like kind of like an orange and push it down to like this really desaturated brown. That, right? Go ahead and start painting that in. Actually, you can go even more desaturated. Almost gray. Wow. Actually, I'm going to make the lines a little bit darker just so we can see what we're doing. Yes, this is actually the color that you want when you're going to be painting blonde hair. As weird as that seems. But just trust me. I'll show you. I will show you the way. Have faith. Have faith, little ones. Little ones. I don't know why I called you that. Alright, so we're just painting in this hair here. There we go, showing off that ear. It's coming down like that. Like that. Behind the chin. Cool. Moving on to phase 2. Phase 2, baby. Alright, so what you're going to do is remember, the shadows are kind of like this dark, dreary, desaturated color. And as we move more towards our blonde color, we are going to actually saturate, well, a little bit. We're going to go kind of to this here, right? So go ahead and again, this time the light is going to, well, let's say the light is still coming from that direction, right? So I'll draw in once again the 3D arrow, representing the 3D storyboard arrow. Wow, that's something. The 3D storyboard arrow coming down, right? And the way that you think of the light hitting, oh, I didn't explain this earlier, but like instead of the light coming down and it's like going to be there, the way it works with the hair is because it's all these, somebody once explained it really well by saying it's like a ribbon. You know, if a ribbon is getting light, like imagine this is this piece of hair right here is actually a ribbon. And when you shine light on a ribbon, it creates a band through it, a musical band that makes awesome music. So when the light is going down, it's going to hit the edges of this ribbon, right? So it's going to appear like that, like that. And go ahead and grab that once it's down, and go ahead and start blending that in. And also think about where the other plane changes are happening. Like there's another plane change happening right in here. So you can add in a little bit of this. And this is kind of something that you see occurring in anime. Anime oftentimes has like this band that goes through the hair. And then every time I say that, I think it's like, there's a band happening in that hair. There's a band playing in that hair. Wouldn't that be an interesting picture? But yeah, you'll see like one band here and then one band, you know, down below. But there's a reason that they choose to do that, even in the more cartoony style that is anime. Anime. And again, keeping in mind where all this hair is going and coming from, right? You're communicating the lines, or you're communicating the flow of the hair with the lines. All right, all right. Moving on. Let's go even brighter to our desaturated highlights. Now we're going to add the gloss to the hair, which is going to be happening here, here, throughout here, basically. And a lot of the color of this hair is actually going to be communicated by the shadows, which actually we started very, very dark. I told you guys to trust me. However, I'm probably going to go back on that because we are going to paint over this, and I'm going to show you how to lighten the color of the hair just by the shadows. So basically all you're going to do is I'm going to push this a little bit more red. Give her a little bit more of a lively blonde hair, right? I'm going to go ahead and start painting in the shadows, right? Sort of almost like a little bit of a backlight. It's okay, because I think mixing in some of that desaturated stuff will actually help with it quite a bit. It'll add some nice texture. There you go. Now you can see that's adding a little bit more life into the hair. Yeah, I'm liking that. I like it. I like it. Yeah, cool. And then here, I'm actually going to go ahead and... It's funny because when you're going blonde, it seems like you kind of hover around this orange area. And you kind of stick with that. And you can also go in with like a soft brush because I don't really like how this reddish color is transitioning into this yellow. I don't like how that's happening. So I'm going to go in and I'm actually going to use a soft brush. Just kind of clean that up and show a little bit more of that transition, you know, or clean up the transition. Yeah, that's looking a little better. Then I'll go back in with my hard brush. Because I don't like, personally, I don't like to have these like soft edges in my work. I like to have basically like a hand-painted look to most of it. And again, along these edges, I really like to accentuate it with a highlight. You know, wherever there's a major like piece of hair that's overlapping another. Also, make sure to throw in the shadow underneath, you know, where it's casting it. And usually I can do that by just eyedropping the line. You know, that's kind of why we chose to use a dark brown. So you can easily just eyedrop that and just cast the shadow right off of that. That's pretty cool. Cool little tips and tricks for ya. Yeah. Alright, so one more thing. I'm going to go very, very bright. I'm going to add that final little bit of gloss into the hair. There we go. And then it is time for flyaways. Flyaways everywhere. Throw them in. Little here, little there. Why not? Some up here. Because hair does not stay in perfect shapes. Just a few will do. Not too many. Not too many. Starts to look a little ratty when you get too many. Looks like split ends. Looks like they need to use more Pantene Pro V. Like I do. Starts looking like my hair. There we go. And that concludes today's lesson, ladies and gentlemen. Little ones. I still can't believe I said that. Little ones. That concludes our lesson. So, hopefully that sheds a little bit of light on how I go about rendering hair. And hopefully it'll help you guys out, because I know that hair was always a really annoying thing for me. It's like, I knew there was always that band going through it, but I never understood why. And if you basically think about it as a ribbon instead of a sphere, then it'll basically, it'll help you out. So hopefully what I've done here makes sense. If not, please just let me know in the comments and we can continue going more in depth with this thing we call hair. So for those of you who showed up, moving on to our important business for tomorrow. Thank you for those of you who showed up last week. Thank you for those of you who showed up last week to the World of Warcraft Summer Pool Party. And just to let you guys know, we will be doing another tomorrow, Sunday, July 15th, at 10 o'clock server time on the Ysera realm. You guys can meet up in the orc starting area. We'll be making the run from there. And then around 8:30 is usually when we do our Q&A. So if you don't want to join in on the party, you can just tune into the live stream around then, and you can ask questions via the chat in the live stream, and I will be more than happy to answer your questions. So with that, we will conclude it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in once again. Thumbs up if you like it, thumbs down if you don't. I am Keenan Lafferty, and I will see you guys tomorrow.